Shalom, Sister Kate. Out in the greenhouse, I was watching a show that I'm on Amazon Prime about a detective in Finland, and Pastor and I were talking, and all of a sudden I got this inspiration. So it kind of has to do with the the lone wolf concept video that I also did that lots of other people have done. Um, and it was a bumper sticker that I saw back when I was still on Instagram. And I may go back on Instagram. I just so busy. I barely get videos out now, you guys. So yeah, I was just picking a bug off a plant. Prepare to self rescue was the bumper sticker. Prepare to self rescue, and I thought, good on you. That's kind of a catchy tune, and there's a certain reality to that. And then I thought about it just now because I wanted to tell you a rescue story. Yes, it has not happened a lot in our marriage, but Pastor Joe had to rescue me one time. And so let me set it up. It's going to take a minute to tell the story. There is or was this event in Delaware, the state of Delaware, called the Punkin Chunkin. And I read about it in a newspaper when we were living in Northern Virginia, and it sounded pretty fun. The Punkin Chunkin started as an event for adults on Halloween. Now, we didn't do Halloween then. We haven't done Halloween in like 50 years, but it was the science of the actual event that had me interested, and I was a homeschooling mom at the time, and it just sounded like fun. So the Punkin Chunkin was men taking a 10-pound pumpkin and seeing who could throw it. Might have even been an anvil to begin with. See how far they could throw it on Halloween. And usually there was alcoholic beverages involved. And that coalesced into that group of gentlemen competing against each other to see who could get this 10-pound pumpkin the farthest, coalesced into I won't say international, but it definitely. I came from Virginia, so states away, and there were also MIT engineering students who competed in the Punkin Chunkin. And when we went to it, it had already gone on. The article was about the MIT team who had come down, and the no explosive engines were allowed, so you couldn't have like a gas powered engine. So you had to propel these things using mechanical energy or steam. And in the article, the two competing teams had thrown the pumpkin like 3,000 feet. So the competition was on an Air Force base. It might have been a retired one with a long runway. And you'd line up some of these machines on the runway and then catapult them out there, and then someone measures them. So in the article, the two teams that had competed in the last one were the MIT team and then the bunch of local guys. And I think it was the local guys maybe had come up with a steam powered cannon that had propelled this thing like almost a mile, and it had gone through someone's chicken coop, and they had to like search for it until they found it, and the people were not super happy, but that team won that year, and the Punkin Chunkin was coming up soon. So we looked it up and we made a plan to go up there and it be a homeschool project event. And at the time I drove a old school Suburban with ambulance doors that we got used from what's the name of it? Union Pacific Railroad or something, a Union Pacific crew car. It had a rubber floor. It had some connections if I'd had some sort of field phone. It had originally, but they had removed the stabilizer things that allowed it to run on a railroad track. So we had bought that used, and that was my homeschool mobile, and it was pumpkin orange. It was school bus yellow orange because it was for the railroad. And so I loaded up my three or two homeschool kids at that time. I think it was only two. I don't think I'd had my youngest yet, and my dog into the big orange machine, and we drove up there, and it was, it wasn't a long drive for us. It was like 3 hours or something, not a lot, maybe six, I think 3 to 6. And so we get there, and I had, I think, with me, some cash and my checkbook. I don't think we had a credit card at the time. And so when we get to the Punkin Chunkin, they see my car and they think, because a lot of people dress up for this. A lot of people wear costumes. There was a dude with like a pumpkin that they made from cloth hat. There were people with pumpkin themed t-shirts on. There were people carrying, or kids carrying toy pumpkins and all that. So I show up with this pumpkin colored car, and they gave me a discount on the parking. So I saved like $10. I was so excited. $10 was a lot in those days. And so we get out and we start walking around. We look at all the contraptions, because that's really the most interesting part about this whole competition is all the contraptions that people build to throw these pumpkins. And they went from anything from a catapult to a trebuchet, just you name anything that could possibly throw it, like a throwing arm. There was even one huge arm thing that was steam generated that had a little light on it, and it had a little fan thing that went whenever they started it up. I mean, it was a hoot. It was a hoot. It was a lot of fun looking at the people there, pumpkin themed snacks available, and then all these machines. And on that airfield, the longer shooting ones were at the short end, so they could shoot all the way down the airfield, and then the shorter ones were across the airfield, and they did the shorter ones first. There was even a 7th grade science class there. I forget the name of the man, like Mr. Thompson's 7th grade science class, who had built a catapult that had an upright and, some ropes and some rubber band, whatever. And when the arm of it went up, it crashed through the crossbar and trashed the machine, but it threw the pumpkin a certain amount of feet. So we have fun. We see all that. It's all really good. Now it's time to go. Punkin Chunkin's over. Everyone's leaving. We get back in the orange car and we start to leave, and it dies on the way out. And there's a state trooper there, and he's directing traffic, and he's like, "Lady, you got to move your car." So I try to start it and won't start. And so we it starts a little, and then we move it off to the side of the road. And I asked him for help. I'm like, "Look, I'm a mom. I got my 2 kids with me. I got my dog with me. I'm out of state, and it just won't work. Do you have a suggestion for me?" And luckily, he was a local, in state, but knew the area. And he gave me a card that I will never forget for the towing guy, because his name was Donald Duck. And I was just like, no way. I'm at a Punkin Chunkin, and Donald Duck is going to tow my vehicle. So the state trooper gave us a ride to a local hotel. Donald Duck came and picked up the car and told me he would let me know what he thought was wrong with it, but he thought the alternator was going out. And he said, "I'll put it on a charger all night long, and then in the morning I won't turn it off, and I'll drive it straight to you." And I'm like, okay, I have to trust these people. I don't know them from anybody but America. Sometimes people here are wonderful. So we go to the hotel. The guy has a room. He's willing to let me let the dog in there, but I only have a check. I don't have a credit card. I don't have enough money for a room. And so I explained that to him, and I said, "Look, I'm going to call my husband. He's going to come up here. We will pay you the money. I do have a check. I'll write you the check, tomorrow if you need. I can do this." But he didn't want a check. He wanted a credit card or cash. So I get in the room, and then I call my husband. Now, he's got another side to the story. He was working at the Pentagon, like, emergency something center. Like, he talks about that. And that's what I called. And so the operator answers and says, Pentagon, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is not a national emergency. I need to talk to one of the officers working there. So she gives me to my husband, and he's like, "You're not supposed to call me here." And I said, "I know, but I need help. I'm at this hotel, up in Delaware. This is the name of it. I've only got one check. I don't have any food or water for the dog. I don't have a toothbrush. I have nothing. This was supposed to be a day trip." So he said, "Hang on, I'll call you back." He went and talked to his boss. His boss said, "You get up there and get your wife. Go get her." And so he called me back and said he was on his way. So then I was able to calm down, tell the children, "It's okay, Dad's going to come. He's going to rescue us. Bring some water bowls for the dogs and a leash and money and so on and so on." And long story short, he did come up. He came up in whatever time, I think it was 3 hours, 3.5 hours, to the hotel, brings all the stuff. I'm so excited. I'm so relieved that, I'm not stuck here. And the next morning, Donald Duck brings the car, and he says, "I charged it all night, but it barely has any charge. Just drive it straight home. Don't stop anywhere. It's got enough gas. Just get to where you need to go, because once it dies, you're going to need a new alternator, and you're not going to be able to drive it." And so, roger that, understood. Load everything up, drive straight to the local car repair place near where we lived at the time, park it, tell him what the deal is, hand him the key, he'll call us, etc. So rescued, which is a perfect example to circle back around to the intro of this video. Lone wolfing it in that situation wouldn't have worked for me. Now, granted, you could have argued with me and said, "Well, I was going out of state and I should have been better prepared. I should have taken more things with me. I should have checked to see that I had more than one check, that I had, because I had to pay Donald Duck and I had to pay the hotel." So my husband brought more checks and we were able to do that thing, that I wouldn't have needed all. I could have been prepared for that. Nowadays, I might have even been able to carry some sort of digital charge up your battery thing. But the thing about an alternator is it's not going to get better. Once it starts going out, you're not going to have power in your vehicle. So lone wolfing it is not the most dependable way to take care of yourself. It is better to have some people who can help you, who you can contact, who you can help. People need people. It's just, in America, we're very independent minded. We want to think we can be independent, but it's way better to keep those social ties, keep friends, keep opportunities, and be able to call on others to help you when you need it. All right, hope this story was kind of entertaining for y'all. I am out of here. I have a meeting today. All right, bless you. Shalom.